Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I'm going to be doing something kind of different, but also kind of not. It's kind of a review, it's kind of not a review. Today I'm just going to be giving my thoughts on the first three books of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. So I have been working my way through the Wheel of Time a little bit. I read the first book, The Eye of the World, last summer. And then I didn't get around to reading books 2 and 3 just within the last couple of weeks. And I just finished book 3 the other day. The reason why I'm doing this kind of a video rather than an actual review for each book is because mostly my thoughts on all three of them have been pretty much the same for the most part, with some differences here and there. And I just kind of want to talk about all three of them together because I think I could talk about the thoughts that I have on all three of them all together, and then also go into each one a little bit if I want to. And I will probably do that for the rest of the series as well, just for the sake of consistency. But if I feel like changing things up and doing individual reviews, then I may do that. But for now, I'm just going to stick to doing it in groups of 3. So far, I have been really enjoying my time with the Wheel of Time. I would not say that I am necessarily blown away by it thus far, which I will admit has been a little bit disappointing. I have been enjoying all three of the books, but nothing about them really has stood out to me as extremely impressive. I have enjoyed the world building quite a lot, I will say. That is probably my favorite thing about the series so far, is the world building. Even from book 1, I thought it was superb. But other than that, not a lot about the series is really pulling me in to the degree that something like, say, the Mistborn trilogy or some other series or standalones that I have read that have just really hooked me and made me really invested in it. But again, I have been enjoying these 3 books. So overall, I have really enjoyed the world building a lot. Like I said, from the first book all the way through book 3, things keep kind of getting added in. You get quite a bit of world building in the first book, considering in the first book you follow Rand, who I believe is kind of the main protagonist of the series. And he and his friends who come with him come from a small kind of I don't know if it's a town or a village or whatever, but a small area that is pretty secluded from the rest of the world. It's the typical kind of hero's journey type thing. They start out in a place where they don't know much about the world, and then it gets revealed to them and the reader as you go along. And so a lot gets done in the first book with that, and then that kind of keeps building and building with the second and third books, which I really enjoyed. And the world building itself is really interesting. I wouldn't say it's the most interesting world building that I have ever read, to be quite honest, but I have really enjoyed it. And another thing is the characters, which is something that I place a lot of emphasis on when I'm reading. I feel like I am very much more of a character reader rather than a plot reader, though I do enjoy good plots as well. But to me, the highlight of a lot of books is the characters and their interactions. That is one thing that I have enjoyed about these books as well. There aren't really any characters in particular that I am becoming particularly attached to. I don't know if that's something that will come later in the series, but for now, there are not any real characters that I am reading and absolutely loving that specific character, but I do enjoy their interactions, particularly in book 3, The Dragon Reborn. The 3 characters, I might butcher these names, but Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine, I think is the name of the third one. I might be wrong on that, but I think that's the name of the third one. I really enjoyed their interactions in book 3. Their parts of book 3 were my favorite sections in that book. But I've also enjoyed other characters like Rand interacting with the other characters. I've also enjoyed the Ogier character, whose name I can't remember, but I've enjoyed him as well. And also world building, again, learning about the culture of the Ogier is really cool. I will say, out of everything, as far as kind of the main pillars of what I consider for the Wheel of Time so far, and fantasy stories in general, you have like world building, plot, characters, And then there's probably some more secondary stuff as well, like themes and things like that. But I think world building, plot, and characters for sci-fi and fantasy are like the three main pillars. And out of those, I do think the plot, for me, is the weakest. Because in general, I have not been crazy about the plots of these three books. Not that I have disliked them by any means, I haven't. I've, enjoyed all three books. But I have not found the plot super engaging. For the most part, the first book is pretty similar to like a Lord of the Rings, it's kind of that classic fantasy story. And then the other two kind of do something a little different. So I do appreciate, first of all, the kind of Lord of the Rings retelling, although there are some differences, of course, but it is similar. But I also do appreciate doing something different in books 2 and 3. But the plots themselves, I have not been super duper into. I often find myself not really knowing that much what's going on, and maybe that's just me not paying as much attention as maybe I should, or I don't know. But to me, I just don't really connect with the plots that much. So unfortunately, that is kind of the main thing that has been bringing these books down a little bit for me. I, again, still have been enjoying them quite a bit, but the plots for me have not been super interesting. I don't know if anybody else feels that way who's read the series, but that's how it's feeling to me. As far as how I'm feeling about each book individually, my favorite one of the three so far, I would say, is probably book 3, The Dragon Reborn. And I don't think that's recency bias. I think I genuinely just really enjoyed a lot of that book. As far as my least favorite out of the three, it's probably book 2, The Great Hunt, but there's not a huge difference between those two. I'd consider all three of these books kind of universally like an 8 to 8.5 out of 10, somewhere in there. Although back when I reviewed The Eye of the World, not on this channel, because I didn't have this channel back then, but on my Goodreads and my Instagram and stuff, I believe I gave it a 9 or a 10, somewhere in that range. With time, that's kind of moved down a little bit, so I would give all three of them kind of an 8, 8.5, somewhere in there. I have really enjoyed them, but I have not enjoyed them maybe to the extent that I was hoping to. I was hoping I would love these as much as, like I said earlier, like a Mistborn or really any of Brandon Sanderson's other books. Aside from Elantris, I'd say I'm enjoying these on the same level as Elantris. But everything else that I've read by Brandon Sanderson, I've liked more. But kind of on similar to that is what I was hoping for these, or like a Lord of the Rings even. I would say I like Lord of the Rings more than I've enjoyed these. So that's been a tiny bit disappointing. Again, not that I haven't enjoyed these three, but I'm not loving them as much as I hoped I would, but I still have been enjoying them. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. I know it was very different. It's kind of a review, it's kind of not, it's much more informal, just kind of giving my thoughts and throwing them out there. So let me know down in the comments, first of all, if you enjoy this format of a review. I probably will not be doing this kind of review a huge amount in the future, where I'm reviewing more than one book at once within a series, unless I am doing a whole series, which for trilogies, I'm probably going to review a whole trilogy all at once, whereas for longer series, I may not. I may do something like this, I don't know. But let me know if you enjoyed this format, and also let me know if you what you think of my thoughts on these three books. Do you agree with me? Do you maybe not agree with me? Do you really enjoy the characters in these books? It would be interesting to hear some other people's thoughts, because I'm sure that considering how popular The Wheel of Time is, other people's thoughts are probably going to be quite different from mine. And also, I am still planning to continue this series. I already have books 4, 5, and 6 sitting on my shelf waiting to be read. I will probably wait another month and a half, maybe 2 months before I start those, but I'll probably read that whole set of 3 books all together, like I did with books 2 and 3. So you can probably expect another video similar to this in a few months. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you, so thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.